And we are live. Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday Show. It's amazing how I meet some of these guests. I just meet these people in my everyday life and they sort of wander into my orbit and I end up having really interesting conversations with them. And I think, I'd really love to get you on the Midday Show. So I'm going to get everyone in just a moment. Just quickly change the name because it was a different surname to what I had. So I've changed the name so we get the right name on the screen. And just a few hellos and then... Well, hello. How was your weekend? I'm knackered. I did a comedy gig on Thursday, running it, not performing it. Friday night, I did a headline comedy gig. Saturday night was a DJ gig. And Sunday night was new material night. And that was the most difficult and painful of the lot, as anyone in the comedy business will know. Needs work, shall we say. Needs work, but I won't be defeated that easily. Robert Van Buren, hello to you. Russ isn't here today, by the way, so it's Neil in for Russ on this Monday. You're not confused. It's not Wednesday. It is definitely a Monday. And we've got a fantastically interesting guest to speak to. So let's get her on because I want to get as much out of this hour. Hello, Victoria da Silva Rente?
Yes, that's right.
Right, I'm going to have to change the name again then quickly. Determined to get it right. Victoria da Silva Rente. That's a fantastic name, if I may say so.
Thank you. It's from Portugal.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's from Portugal.
You sound like you should be a famous international DJ with a name like that. It's kind of got that international D. As has Robert Van Buren. That's another should be a DJ with a name like that, but he's not. He makes clocks. He's a horologist. We met very briefly last week for the first time when you came into Radio Jackie on the breakfast show that I do there, and we started having this really interesting conversation because about ADHD, autism, and I think you pretty much diagnosed me with ADHD.
Yes, that was pretty much what happened.
on the spot, and I think you're probably right. Excellent. We got Asa Don Brown tuned in today. He is great to have on the timeline because Asa meet Victoria meet Asa. He's very high up in the psychiatric community in the USA and in Canada, and he's always got some wise words to say, and always likes putting his peneth in, which is really good. So, talk to us about it because. Are you, if it's not too personal, are you ADHD yourself? I know some of your kids are.
Yeah, I am ADHD myself. I got my.
So what are the symptoms, first of all? Because I did a test online, all right, literally after our conversation. and I was just under the threshold. Just under. Yeah. So I've got a bit of it, but maybe not all of it. So explain it to us.
I think it's quite... I mean, you hear that saying all the time, don't you? You know, well, I've got a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I think from a parent who's got children with SEND needs and also having ADHD myself, I think you either have it or you don't. It's something that you know you're struggling with, or it's something that's been part of you and you've managed to mask and cope for a long period of time.
Well, I never knew it was a problem until other people pointed it out to me.
Generally, well, sometimes it's actually just having a better understanding of why you do certain things, and it doesn't always necessarily mean that it's a problem. You know, it's functional skills, but you might think, oh, that makes sense why I always have to do that. You know, because you're meeting a specific...
Give us some examples.
Ooh. Do you want to start with children or adults? Because I've got plenty.
Well, let's start with adults, then we'll move on to children.
Okay. So my biggest sign that I had ADHD, you probably see me moving now. I am hyperactive externally, but I'm also hyperactive internally. And quite a lot of people don't understand that ADHD doesn't necessarily mean you have to be 100 miles an hour like the typical presenting person. Your brain can have like racing thoughts of anxiety, and even just things like got to do this, got to do that, got to do this, got to do that. You know, my brain is like a software. There's so many tabs that are open, things keep popping up. It's overwhelming at times.
And 4 of those tabs are playing music in the background. You don't know which one it is.
That's the one.
Yeah, so, very much similar to me. I wouldn't say anxiety so much, though I can worry myself sick with my thoughts on occasion. But I'm getting better on that, much better actually.
Yeah.
But to do this, to do that, and I can flick from one thing to another, which in my job is a necessary skill. to be honest with you. But what I can't do is switch off. So I'll switch off, go down the pub with the mates, and I'll still be in radio mode, which must be really irritating.
Because you're 100 miles an hour. Yeah. I'm one of those people that is kind of always last to leave the party. I'm very easily instigated. And I also instigate others to be.
Well, you're invited to my next party, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I'm generally the person that hosts the house parties, or if I'm attending one, I'm the last one to leave because I'm having such a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's many different ways of it displaying. The difficulty for myself is with children who have got needs, you kind of see yourself in them. They do say quite a lot that a child's diagnosis generally leads to an adult's diagnosis. And that was obviously apparent in my case.
Well, because it's only been relatively understood until now. I think ADHD has been written off by the more judgmental people, and in the context where they were, which is normally classrooms, it's the last place they should be, but as just, it's bad behaviour.
Absolutely.
Or it's not paying attention, because they used to say that about dyslexia, didn't they? And now we know that's
they did.
a real thing.
I mean, if I look back at my school life, quite a lot of ADHD people, and this isn't everybody, but generally, they don't have a very good memory or a relationship with their schools. It's generally quite a negative and frustrating environment for them. I tried my best to get out of school as much as I could. And that wasn't necessarily just bunking off, because that's what you would think. I was an external candidate and I was dancing and competing internationally, but that was my way of escaping having to do the academic side. So I channeled my energy into something else. But looking back, now I understand why I kind of was so pro that avenue. Then
was it a relief to find out that to get a diagnosis? Did you think there was something irreparably wrong with you up to that point?
I think I've always known I've had ADHD. I've always gone, I'm ADHD, but I never really fought for a diagnosis until my children were medicated, and I saw the positive changes in their behaviors and how they were responding to the world, and how they just was the best version of themselves. If you think of your child on a happy day, that is my child when they've had their medication, basically. Yeah. And I wanted to be a better version of myself. My husband was diagnosed with an illness when my youngest was only 3 months old. So that was quite a really tricky time for us. And I got misdiagnosed with postnatal depression and anxiety. And I didn't have any of those really. And I knew that. And I said, actually, I think I've got ADHD. And I think that's the reason why I'm not coping right now. Because I went and spoke up with the doctors. And they put me on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication. And it really didn't do anything. And it's quite common that those medications don't help ADHD.
It seems to be
the way that they should be.
It seems to be the go-to for anything like that. Anything like that, let's stick them on sertraline.
Absolutely.
And or Prozac or citalopram, and let's just, stick them on the good old SSRIs. But maybe it's trying to solve the wrong problem. Because
my main thing was that I really don't want to be misdiagnosed. I believe there's something else going on here, and I want to be screened for ADHD, given that
it's quite scary when you know more than the doctors, isn't it? Did you find
absolutely.
How did it pan out?
So then I went and had a pre-screen with my mental health team within my GP. They did one for autism and ADHD, because obviously my children have both of those. And it's like a scale of 1 to 20. For autism, I scored 2. So I was like, you don't want an autism diagnosis or assessment. I was like, I didn't think I did anyway. With ADHD, I scored 19 out of 20. And I was like, I'm sure I've got ADHD. Then they put me on the waiting list, and I waited for 3 years. And I still am on that waiting list. However, I was informed that I can do something called right to choose. And I diverted my care to a private practice who are NHS recognised, and they diagnosed me with combined type ADHD. And for every single category that they assessed me for, I hit full marks from childhood all the way through to adulthood. Now, not even 1 mark off. I was full marks combined.
And now you've had your diagnosis and are being treated for it. You're happy with the results?
100%. I was a bit anxious about trying medication because I didn't want it to change me. I didn't want to be, how can I explain this? I didn't want to be numb from emotions or from the world and be
Which
less
is what antidepressants
crazy.
can do.
Yeah, and I didn't want to be less crazy because I'm a dance teacher. I need that kind of environment to be
Well, you need that energy.
encouraging to
Once
the
I saw a very
children.
good psychologist because I had OCD, and he said he could put me on lithium, but it would dull the very thing. So we kind of need, there's nothing wrong with having a spark. There's nothing wrong with a bit of crazy genius. Nothing wrong
No,
with any of that at all. And it would be wrong to call that a disorder. Disorder is completely different. It's just the hyper version of it. It's when it goes hyper, or you can't go in and out of it at will, kind of thing. That's when it can become a problem, can't it?
Yeah, all the impulsivity, like ADHDers, we're quite emotional characters, and we feel emotions really big and really strong.
Yeah.
So, you know, what might be a little thing to one person is catastrophic to us. So I think for me, I needed to have better emotional regulation. And all I can say is I didn't realize how much I was coping until I went on medication. It's like someone's flicked a switch and all of my craziness that was going on in my head has just gone, And now I'm doing my to-do list in order, not in order of ease or stress. I mean, I'm flying to Dubai tomorrow and I haven't even packed a thing. Normally, I would have been packing a week ago and getting like frantically stressed, but it's okay. I've still got 24 hours. I would never feel like that normally pre-meds.
So it's more moderated now. It's more, I don't have to rush. I can do one thing at a time, and and you can focus, probably more importantly, on one thing at a time.
And actually, because I'm focusing, I'm more effective. So I'm starting jobs and then I'm finishing them instead of starting it and then getting distracted. And then
now guilty as charged, because I can fit, and then I wonder why I get nothing done. So I might be going to have a little word with the doctors. What are they? I mean, feel free not to tell us this.
No, I'm
what
happy
medication are you on?
I'm on Elvance at the moment, which is I'm on 50 milligram. And
of what? Sorry, what's it called?
Elvance.
Elvance, right?
Yeah. It's a little bit like an amphetamine, but not. It's amphetamine based for ADHD.
Is it like Ritalin?
A little bit. It's a stimulant medication. It's
isn't it curious that a stimulant takes you down?
Yes, because it
seems to work in the opposite way to normal people.
Yeah. So I mean, you might find that quite a lot of people will self-medicate. I said this to you, Neil, in the studio, on caffeine, and then go and have a nap because actually, it's calming you down. My husband does that a lot. He was drinking Red Bulls, or he'll drink Coca-Cola, and he'll have coffees. He'll have loads of them, and he didn't even realize until we started to understand a little bit more about it. But I'm on a stimulant medication, and that usually lasts me. I break medication down really quickly until about 3-4 o'clock. And at that point, I've finished my, as I call it, life admin, and I've been successful. But then I have to go to work at 4. So on the days that I'm working late, I have a top-up medication of a 10 milligram. It's another medication, but very similar. And I don't take that every day. I only take that on the days that I am working till 9 o'clock to make sure I focus.
I mean, focus today in our distracted world is the superpower.
Absolutely.
It is. The superpower is focus, particularly in psychology. We know that we get more of what we put our focus on. So the ability to focus in the first place is a fantastic thing. Thinking about it from a biochemical perspective, antidepressants could never work because what I've read about this, I've read a lot of the work of John Gray, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. He wrote a whole series. He's done a whole series of whole body of work on natural solutions rather than medical solutions, using natural supplements. And ADHD is about the brain's inability to reuptake dopamine.
Absolutely, we have a massive lack of it.
It's lack of dopamine. It's maybe not lack of dopamine, but the ability to reuptake it. So it's like dopamine everywhere, but not a drop to drink, to use the shit analogy.
The biggest thing for dopamine change for me is everyone who knows me will know that I was mad on jelly sweets, sugar, chocolate, naughty foods. Right. And ever since I started medication, I have gone off them because I don't need that dopamine hit off the naughty food anymore. I'm getting it in my medication.
And I think because any ADHD person, I'll come on to that in just a sec, actually, but
Yeah.
a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor is never going to work for the dopamine pathway.
Yeah.
So that would explain why those medications did absolutely nothing for you. Biochemically, it's not a surprise. It's obvious.
Yeah. If anything, it actually heightened my anxiety, especially the anti-anxiety medication. So yeah, I wasn't on it for very long because I'm very self-aware. I think that's another thing with ADHD is we're very hypersensitive to everything.
Yes.
So being very self-aware, I could manage and see that actually this isn't helping me. If anything, this is making my symptoms worse.
At least you have that awareness. Some people don't.
Yeah, not everybody does. And also, like, if a professional's telling you something, you're bound to believe the professional. So it's hard to go against somebody who you know is qualified in that field to challenge them or to even just question and, you know, use your own.
Well, it is. And it can be a bit frightening when we become better, you know, we have better knowledge than the doctor. I mean, we had a wonderful family doctor for years and, you know, lovely guy. But I remember once I went to him with a muscle ache or something. And I said, what about a chiropractor? And he was furious. He said, don't you go to, you know, quackery almost. And he got a kind of deep heat and use this. And that's a doctor, you know.
Oh my goodness.
Let's do some of the comments here. Some really thoughtful comments.
I do apologise. I've got a little bit of a cough.
I'm sorry. I should have said that at the beginning of the show. You sound
I don't
fine.
normally sound this husky.
Do you know? I hadn't actually noticed. You did text me about that, and I forgot to say you sound fine. You sound
okay.
Absolutely
That's
fine. Dave A. Sleet, and he does a lot of good work in the mental health field. Greetings, one and all. Loving the convo. It's great to hear the positive that comes from genuine awareness. APA. This is his mental health organisation. Here's the horror stories when the medical world failed to engage, and then ACE jumps in and says, when diagnosing, professionals look at the following three categories. Does the individual have the trait, style, or disorder? Furthermore, I always ask myself, will a diagnosis improve the patient's overall quality of life? If not, I refrain from diagnosing. ADD, ADHD diagnosis are very common and safe. There's many natural ways to cope and manage this diagnosis, but medications are common with such an issue and very beneficial for many, including yourself, of course. Dave says creativity is often the balancing factor and sometimes the core coping factor for those that are wired to shine. Maybe that's where we get the phrase from genius and madness, so the two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where we get.
I'm a believer that every autism or ADHD candidate or person has their own little hook. You've just got to find it. Mine obviously is in dance, and
I know some wonderful. I know some wonderful autistic comedians. They're absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Philip is saying hello. And Asa Don Brown says, believe it or not, but coffee is very beneficial for people with this disorder, individuals with this disorder. I've prescribed a spoonful of coffee grounds in the past to a few patients. And the one I heard was grapeseed extract and vitamin C.
Yeah, vitamin C is supposed to really help as well.
Vitamin C heals the brain. This is not my work. This is John Gray. The grapeseed extract repotentiates it. So if you took the required dose of vitamin C, you'd need to eat 1,000 oranges, and that's just not practical. But with this, you just take one supplement of vitamin C, but the grapeseed extract sort of rotates it. It repotentiates it round and round again. So it uses the same thing over and over. So that's how that works, apparently. So you have. Let's talk about the kids.
Yes.
I've
got three children. I've got Ruben, who is 12, Blake, who is 11, and I've got Riley, who is almost 4. Both of my older two have got autism and ADHD diagnosis. Riley isn't diagnosed yet, but he is definitely both. All three of them have EHCPs, which is really hard to get. If some people don't know what that is, it's an education. Yeah, it's an education, health and care plan. So it's agreement between the local authority and the schools to provide the care that the child needs. It is a legal document, and like I say, they're hard to get hold of.
Sorry, so it's Ruben, Blake, and what was the third? I can't hear you.
I said, do fight for them if you need them, because they're hard to get hold of.
You cut out a little bit there. You got Ruben, Blake, and
Riley.
Yeah,
Riley, who's 4.
Is that a boy or a girl?
It's a boy. They're all boys.
This is what I was going to ask you. Question I'm asking for a friend here. One thing in both cases I'm reading here of ASD and ADHD is that when it comes to testing girls, the criteria is still very based on how boys present their symptoms, not girls, as they're capable of masking their symptoms, which are often so very different in boys. So parents often don't get believed, and CAMs often refuse to assess or diagnose, leading to parents having to go private. It would be good to know if the testing criteria is ever going to change in line with how girls present differently to boys. Can I throw that question at you? What do you think?
Absolutely. I've actually got quite a few people who I've prompted and gone, your child is autism or ADHD, and they're close with me, and they are girls. They do present differently. Girls tend to have much better social skills. So because of that, it's not picked up as easily as when boys are not communicating effectively. The difficulty that girls have is because they're able to mask and hold it together in school. Generally, they will come home and melt down. Excuse me. And then you'll find in the teenage years with girls, as soon as they start to hit puberty, it exacerbates the issues, and you might find they've got really bad anxiety, or they're very like self-aware and really start to struggle in high school. Sorry.
No problem. Take your time.
My throat's drying out.
No. Take your time.
I do believe that the criteria for diagnosing them does need to be actually revisited. I mean, in my case, because it's boys, and they fit the criteria very easily, it is easier. But for those with girls, yes, it is harder. And CAMs do try to say that, oh, it's anxiety or it's this or it's that. But most of the time, it still is autism or ADHD.
Manifesting as anxiety in the way you just very brilliantly articulated. What's the solution for people stuck in this situation, do you think?
Keep pushing. Don't if you believe that your child has got autism or ADHD and you're able to explain why they fit that criteria by behaviors that they're displaying at school or at home, and don't accept no for an answer if you strongly believe that child's got those needs, because it is life-changing for children and adults. And my mum looks back now and thinks, I just so wish I knew. I could have helped you like more so than now.
It wasn't even in our
I know.
ADHD.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing.
It would have been put down to misbehavior or called me at school. Inattentive. I was described as inattentive and can't seem to concentrate at school. And then, of course, the report comes home and my dad's inattentive. At no point did they say he might need vitamin C. He has an inability to reuptake dopamine, and maybe grape seed extract and vitamin C would help. No one said that.
No, of course. For me, I was a chatterbox and I'd get easily distracted. And actually, there was a teacher that made me reset a test because he couldn't believe I did it, because he was like, she never listened in that lesson. She definitely copied. He made me redo the test in primary, and he actually apologized to my mum and said, actually, she did get it right when I made her do it on her own.
So three boys, all with special needs, a care plan in place for them. What does it manifest like on a day-to-day level?
For managing
what's a day in the life of when three kids with those
their needs? Well, the difficulty is that sometimes each child can be each trigger. So, one of the siblings could be a trigger to one of the children, and you're having to manage each need, really. One of the children, he's in specialist provision. This is Blake, who you met. He's been in specialist provision since nursery. And his behaviours, shall we say, are more catastrophic to our family than any of the other children. He's got a child in need plan, and he's got a social worker, and he's got a support package in place. But sometimes his siblings like to push the wrong buttons and rile him up, and they can sometimes cause those meltdowns, or he will respond in a different way because his anxiety is like up here and he's already not coping. So it's really hard to find the balance. One-to-one, all three children are amazing.
I met Blake just to fill everyone in, because it's an interesting story. On Radio Jackie, we do this game called Phone Roulette, where you have to dial in and beat the 3 people on the breakfast show, and it's the first one through to the studio. And Blake just kept on winning every morning. Blake and another girl who I haven't met called Peggy. And we did it this morning. Blake didn't win today, actually.
He didn't. Peggy did, but he was on the sofa trying.
Oh, I bet he was. I could visualise it. I've even got a jingle saying, "We're the fastest fingers in Southwest London. In your face, Peggy." And it's great fun. And then, of course, he wanted to come in and meet us, and you brought him in, and then our conversation started. But he's a lovely lad. He's not silly. He's a very sharp lad. He's a very intelligent young man. I mean,
I'm very grateful for the provision that he's had in place. I do believe he would not be where he is today had he not had early intervention and a really good support plan that he's had in place.
I mean, there must be so many parents, and that's why I really wanted to get you on in your position, particularly. I mean, it's difficult enough getting the diagnosis with boys, but girls is even harder. Blake's getting some love from Kimmy. I'm clicking that. It should come up on the screen, and it's not. Why is that? Pro me, Victoria.
Love to hear Blake on Jackie.
Yes.
I can see it. There we go.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, internet's playing up a bit this morning. Yes, Kimmy Lashmar, she's a big Radio Jackie fan, and Blake's getting the love. Back to what we're talking about. Asa says, Victoria, you've hit the nail on the head. Girls and boys seldom present the same. I think there was a certain gender blindness. I think we've reached the...
Absolutely, yeah. Even when I was at school, you think ADHD is, it's that naughty kid. You literally used to say that about them because they would be the child that was not coping in school, and they ended up having to be put in isolation or work-based learning, they used to call it back then. And there was like there was always a room of naughty kids. I don't know if you remember it at school. In my era, there definitely was.
Yeah, because I was normally in it.
And me too. Me too. But it was never going, oh my God, this child's not coping. Let's see how we can help get them back into the classroom. Why are they not coping?
It's all punishment based, isn't it?
Yes, it was.
That's the problem, and I'm very glad that is changing now. Very, very glad. I mean, my mum was ambidextrous, and if she would write with her left hand, her teacher would wrap her on the left hand with a ruler. I mean, they used to think left-handed people were evil. That's where we get our word sinister from, as opposed to Dexter, right-handed.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's the craziness. You should check out Dr. Daniel Amen's work. Now, I'm familiar with him. Are you?
Nope, but I will.
He's a neuroscientist.
I love a little bit of homework.
He's a neuroscientist, and he pioneered brain scans on people. And just by reading the brain scan, he can see what changes to be made. That's Daniel Amen in a nutshell.
I've written it down.
Dr. Daniel Amen. So I've seen you've got at least neat writing. I don't know if that's a symptom of ADHD because I write like a doctor. So where did we get to? Yeah, so
we were talking about like the EHCPs, I think, and how my day kind of manifests and things.
That's right.
I mean, I've been quite lucky with Blake that he's had all the support that he needed. But with Ruben, that wasn't the case. I was actually fighting really, really hard to, one, get him diagnosed and also to get his EHCP. He's kind of one of those children that socially copes amazingly. But then academically, he was struggling. He had a diagnosis of epilepsy and he was on epilepsy medication. Now, if some people don't know, there is actually a genetic link between autism and epilepsy. You're more inclined to have autism if you've got epilepsy, and vice versa. You're at a higher chance of having epilepsy if you've got autism. So you have to look out for that. But he was diagnosed with that first and on medication. And his first primary school continued to say it was because of his medication why he wasn't concentrating in class and why he was struggling. And then they tried to blame COVID because obviously kids were out of school for a little bit and he wasn't in school because he wasn't a key worker child.
That's convenient.
Yeah. Anyway, we had an interesting conversation with the school Senko, and I managed to ask some quite direct questions. And the head teacher called my husband asking what had gone on because he had upset teachers. And I was like, my wife didn't say anything rude. She was just asking why has the protocol not been followed for any HCP, because he ticks all the boxes and the criteria for it. And then my husband said, we actually recorded the call because we needed it to send to Ruben's mum, because I'm actually his stepmom. And we sent it over to her, and she called him back and said, I'm so sorry. Your wife asked quite relevant questions that were honest and direct, and those things should have actually been done. So then she went off to her Senko to action it, really. What happened was we moved him school and then started to get the right school to help and support us with that plan. But even when we moved there, they believed he didn't have autism until we actually came back with a diagnosis going, look, here's a pediatrician letter with his diagnosis of autism. And they were still like in shock. They couldn't believe it.
What will it take?
I know. And these people are Senkos. They're supposed to be like dealing with all the special educational needs within the schools. It's eye-opening. Honestly, it's crazy.
I wonder what it would take. And I suppose it's not entirely fair to pin the blame on these people entirely.
No.
Because it's like expecting a GP to be an expert on everything. But you say SEN, special educational needs, that's a big umbrella.
It's massive, absolutely. I mean, but the biggest thing under that umbrella is generally autism and ADHD in mainstream provisions. So for me, that they should have a lot more awareness than what they do if they're struggling to, see that in children who
do you see positive change happening in your experience?
Absolutely, I do. From when Blake was diagnosed when he was 3 and he's now 11, there's been so much change in the SEN community. The difficulty is because there's more awareness, there's more people being diagnosed, which then is making the bucket of funding get less and less within schools and local authorities, and most of their budget is obviously SEN. So it is hard on that front. There just needs to be more support for families out there. There's a lot of families as well who have got SEN children that end up breaking down because of the stress of having a SEN child. Lots of SEN parents generally are from blended families now. There's not many SEN children who are still in households with both parents.
It's understandable, particularly if people don't have the vocabulary or the understanding.
Yeah. And also it's easier because actually each weekend you both get a break from it. If you think about it in the logistical way of being a full-time parent to a SEN child. But really what there needs to be is more support and more provision for children who are, say, less verbal to go to like out of school clubs or have PAs to come in and support and help.
Yeah. And it's equally true that carers need care too.
Absolutely.
Being a carer is an unbelievably difficult thing to do. Being a carer of 3, that multiplies it by 3.
And my husband, he has
some
his
people are
challenges.
Single parents. Sorry?
I said, and my husband, he has his challenges.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's often said though that there's genius. We all think of the film Rain Man, and I've seen pictures. I remember seeing a picture by an autistic person, and what he'd done, he'd flown over the River Thames, and then he went back and from memory, just by flying past it once, drew the whole landscape, all the buildings, even the flower in that window out of the thousands of windows.
The attention to detail
and the photographic memory.
Yeah.
And it's when I see things like that, I find it hard in that context to call it a disorder.
Yeah.
It becomes a disorder when it's not the mainstream and everyone's different. But you could argue it's a sane individual in an insane society. It's not like our society is perfect.
No.
Not like the neurotypical society is absolutely perfect, heaven on earth. And it's not like that at all, is it? So
no.
What do they excel in, your boys? What are they brilliant at? Apart from phone roulette.
Phone roulette, of course. Well, I've got one that's a footballer. He loves being out on the pitch, being outdoors. He's got like great upper body strength, so he can climb things and do things that you think, oh my God, that's insane. My youngest, he's more ADHD than autistic. He was walking at 9 months. He's riding a bike at 3. He's now riding a 2-wheel scooter and he's not even 4 yet. That just doesn't happen. He's just very like forward in different ways. Maybe not with language and the educational side, but the physical side, he very much is, Blake. I was going to say Blake. His hook is Stagecoach. So he actually is registered with a casting agency, and he goes and does TV and film. He loves. He's a bit of a drama queen. He loves to act, sing, and dance, basically. So
he's a man after my own heart. Well, I don't dance. But
yeah, they've all got their own little thing that they end up doing. But one of the biggest things is that they've got real empathy and compassion and understanding, mainly because they know that the world's tricky for them. So it's,
Again, it becomes harder to label it a disorder,
yeah.
doesn't it?
I mean, I don't see it as that for me. They have their challenges. Don't get me wrong. I mean, neurotypical people do too, but I see it as a bonus. Like, there's so many things that I can do that people go, oh, I wish I could do that. Like you'd manage and juggle so much. And I'm like, I just have to. Like, it's just life. There's like, I couldn't do it. And I'm like, it's the ADHD. That's what I always say. You know, it's my superpower. Really.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I know dyslexics that are millionaires, and was all the stories that Einstein was told he was thick at school, which he was, and then he went on to change the whole paradigm of how human beings saw time and space. So nothing major, you know. And there's so many stories like that. You know, Elvis was told he was talentless and should go back to driving a truck. You name it. You know?
I mean, me and my husband, he's not diagnosed ADHD, but he definitely is. And it's genetically proven to go to boys. So if not, you know, and I've got the boys.
Indeed.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and also,
but we both have our own companies because of that reason. Again, in the workforce, we struggle with authority a little bit, and like to have control over what we're doing. So you find that.
How does that manifest for you? Being struggling with authority. Do you, for me, if authority is fair, I'm fine with that. You know, all the police that I've interacted with over my years have been professional and reasonable, and I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
But if someone's a dick, then I have a problem.
I think I'm very similar in that aspect. Like, if it's fair and they can kind of get me to see it from their perspective, I'm like, actually, yeah, okay, I get that. But generally, I don't like the word no. Like, if I was to say, oh, let's book a holiday, it's like, no. I'm like, what? It's got to be yes, you know? Or just, I hate being micromanaged. I'm quite lucky that my business partner, me and her, have got the same kind of vision, and we've never really had any clashes or anything. So it works well. And my husband the same. He struggles with people micromanaging him. So, you know, he's his own boss. And
well, the wise leader will hire. What's it called? Hiring ahead, hiring people that are better at the job than you.
Yeah.
And then if they're good at it, let them get on with it. And then that's the traits of a wise leader. Micromanaging tends to come from leaders that are quite insecure and really don't want to let anything go.
Yeah.
So I can.
But when I say what's my struggle with authority, it's generally that people trying to micromanage me. So not just in the workforce, it could be anything. It could even be like your ex-partner trying to micromanage how you parent, or even my husband trying to micromanage what holidays I do and don't book, because I have a bit of a holiday obsession.
And off to Dubai tomorrow.
Yes, I am.
How long for?
Just a week. We're actually going to celebrate our friend's birthday out there, and our 1-year wedding anniversary, and our son's 4th birthday.
Lots to celebrate. Congratulations. I've never been to Dubai. I heard many wonderful things about it, but never been. So
it's got an excessive heat warning at the moment. It's 39 degrees, but apparently it feels like 49. So I'm looking forward to going to Dubai.
They say that's not excessive. Have they lived in England?
Oh, crazy.
Have you heard of the work of Tony Buzan?
No.
He's worth Googling as well, actually. Tony Buzan, Buzan. And he's very accessible, and he writes about lots of intelligences. I think we've worshipped to the altar of academia for many years, and again, because we've got a sort of punitive mindset, people that don't fit this academic stereotype are seen as wrong or troublemakers, when it turns out they could be the geniuses in our midst, the next Einstein, the next Paul McCartney, the next whoever. And he breaks intelligence down into many forms of intelligence: mental intelligence, emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, sexual intelligence, spatial intelligence, artistic, creative intelligence, and there's more. Wow. There's about 9. And it's very rare to find someone with all those traits, but our academic system doesn't allow for that. If it's not facts and figures and academia, I think there are changes. My old school used to be really academic, and it used to be all boys, and we'll mould them into little gentlemen. You know, it was all about. If you've seen Dead Poets Society, it wasn't that far from that. And then they allowed girls in when I was in the second year there, or the first form, and that changed things. Now they're super theatrical. They've built a big theatre on the side, and they're focused on arts and drama, which wasn't the case when I was there so much. We had the school play, which I always wanted. But there is progress there.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to see classrooms more friendly for every. I suppose we're just not resourced enough, are we, to be able to see
Yeah,
the
I
needs.
do have this analogy, and I say it all the time about
Go on.
what needs to change in education. Because obviously,
What needs to change in
I've got a
education?
child in specialist, and I've got a child in mainstream, and I've got a child who's got an EHCP, and I need to now look for a new provision. So many children need smaller class sizes and more attention, right?
Like the Montessori model, maybe?
Kind of. I mean, because they're looking at putting more bases into mainstream schools now, aren't they? So that children who can then access the base. So it doesn't have to be an ASD base. It could be a speech and language base for any type of SEND need for a child. You know, they could spend the morning in the base, for example, then go into their mainstream classroom, or they could spend the whole time in the base. But what we're finding is those base provisions tend to keep getting filled up with children. Sorry, my battery's running low.
Not at all.
Of children who actually struggle to integrate and could potentially benefit from being in a fully specialist provision. But really, if we could just hire more teachers and TAs and dilute the mainstream system so that there's not 30 kids in each classroom and there's 15, I do believe that everyone's needs can be met. Being a teacher myself, I know it's not English and maths, it's dance, but I still have lots of different needs and abilities and SEN in my own school. And I'm confident that if we had less children to manage, we'd be able to push the children who are academically able and support the ones who aren't and the ones in between.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with academia. I'm just saying it's not the whole enchilada. If people are
absolutely,
I mean, my daughter's an academic, and it's absolutely right for her, but she loves dance as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that is the way forward, so that we have smaller class sizes, and then children can go to their local school and have friends in their community. Because what keeps happening is children get put on transport and they're off to schools that are like 30, 40 minutes away from home, because that's the nearest school that can meet need, and then they're not able to have friends in their community, and that's so important.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, all these sorry, excuse me one second, talk to my producer. Would you turn my computer on, please? It's just behind the table. Push the switch down. Thank you. I'm too running out of power. I've got my producer here. Well, a friend over for lunch. She serves very nicely as mine. And you're producer. You're qualified in this as well. You've got a qualification.
I haven't say that I've been to university and studied, but I've got a level 2 of understanding autism, and I've done an ADHD diploma, and that was more to kind of just have a better understanding for myself and also for my children, how I can be better equipped for them.
Sure.
You know, and what
do you coach? What do you do? Any coaching one-on-one? Can people reach out to you? Do you have a website we could put on the screen?
Obviously in ballroom and Latin and in the dance school, yes, I do obviously all that. But in regards to SEN, not necessarily, but I've always been very open and supportive to the SEN community. When I first started on my journey, I didn't really have anyone who was guiding me, and it is a massive minefield. It's very overwhelming. You don't know or understand what you are able to claim, what you're able to get access to, because there's no manual, and you basically get your diagnosis and sent on your way, and you kind of have to do all the homework yourself. And my argument is that, you know, SEN parents together are stronger than any professionals put together, because you guys are living it, they're not. You understand much more what's going on with an autistic or an ADHD child or adult.
Of course you do. You got first-hand front row seat experience. What's your website for the dance? Let's pop that on the screen.
Dance school is www.surreydance.addicts.
Sorry, dance.
Yes, Surrey is in the area. SURREY. Yeah.
Sorry, dance.
Addicts. ADDICT.
.co.uk.
Yes.
I like that. That's a nice little domain you got there.
Thank you.
Is that the one?
I can't see it. I think so. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Surreydanceaddicts.co.uk. Brilliant. And so it must be really helpful knowing about all this, bringing it to the classroom. How big are your class sizes?
For dance school, I actually cap all my kids' classes at 15, and my students be able to vouch for that. Mainly because I don't feel like I would be able to meet the need of those children. I do believe that Blake made me a much better teacher. prior to having Blake. I was instructing is probably the best way to explain, whereas now I'm hands-on, I'm visual, I'm using different kind of language, and my teachers and my students, they seem to be responding in a much better way. I seem to be a bit of a magnet towards SEND children. I've got quite a lot of SEND children in my school, and I love teaching them. I love seeing how they can develop, not just with movement, but also just socially, because we're one big family. And yeah, it's just lovely to be on their journey with them, really.
It sounds really, really good, and I wish you all the very, very, very best with everything. Thank you so much for coming on. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, just thank you for having me. It's been lovely. And if anyone's got any thing they'd like to ask, obviously reach out via the website. You can send an inquiry via there, even if it's SEND specific. You get hold of me.
So you don't mind people contacting you about SEND on the dance website?
No, that's fine. It'll come through to the inbox.
We do a few more comments before you go. You get some really good comments. Dave, fear and ego-based reactions by educators and other professionals to shape the system, and those in need have to fight for awareness-based responses. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Our peer support groups at Wanstead Mental Health Clinic support parents and carers. I've always highlighted neurodiversity as a para-ability. What does that mean, para-ability? So like Paralympics sort of thing?
No, I think it's like...
or above.
Yeah, I think I kind of see it as like an extra ability. Like I see it as a superpower kind of vibe. That's how I would. Para-ability.
All right, superpower. There we go.
Yeah, that's how I would intend it. So
okay, cool. Victoria says, Asa, I'd encourage you to search those with such disorders because there are many famous individuals who've learned to utilize their uniqueness. Albert Einstein, which we mentioned. I saw his writing, by the way. I did the university run with my daughter and went up to Nottingham, and Einstein had visited there in the early part of the 20th century, and they preserved the writing. But it was behind glass. It was fascinating. It was just like you expect it to look scratchy and like mad professor-like. Anyway, Albert Einstein, Anthony Hopkins, Richard Branson, Temple Grandin. These individuals may prove as positive examples to your children how they can follow their individual dreams. What a lovely thought. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Asa.
I am a very strong believer that my children need to embrace who they are. Like some parents get a little bit scared about telling their children that they're autistic or ADHD, and I'm like, guys, don't shy away of who you are. That is just part of you.
We all need to accept who we are. Warts and all. Acceptance is a key. Dr. Asa will tell you this. Acceptance is a key facet of self-love and mental health. And it's without 100%. it, we have nothing. And in accepting it, that you utilize, in accepting it, then you can utilize it for a superpower. If you're not accepting it, you're just pushing it into the shadow, and it'll just come out when it and then you get labelled as troublesome.
Absolutely.
and all
but there is a fine line as a parent to make sure that you don't use the diagnosis as an excuse as well. Like I found that quite a lot with parents, and I can say that because I'm a parent myself.
Yes, I would agree with that. And I know people that hide behind their disorder as well. It's not, let's just be clear here, it's not an excuse for antisocial or bad behaviour, but it does need treating with more understanding.
It just means that it's going to take that child a little bit longer. But as a parent, it's our job to support, guide and teach our children right from wrong, whether that's socially, emotionally, and how to regulate their emotions, find them strategies. It will be harder than it is for the average person because they have those difficulties. And the easiest emotion to display, as we all know, is anger. Like you can be anxious but still angry. You can be frustrated but still angry. That's why you see anger manifest the most in ADHD. But really,
boys tend to project the anger outwards, but even in neurotypical, boys tend to project it out more, and girls tend to internalize.
Yes, they do, and they get frustrated in other ways.
I read a statistic a while ago. You're right that 90% of people in prison are men, possibly because that 90% of people in counselling are women.
Because they're able to rationalise and communicate
for that
in
gender.
ways.
That gender difference, outwards or inwards. One more comment from Dave. APA's framework for positive mental health and education includes a focus on coaching-based education plans for students, which has proven-based approach for SEND and benefits all students to raise their education engagement. So you're getting a lot of support on the timeline, lots of lots of acolytes, lots of people loving your work, as do I. Keep doing what you're doing. You're obviously doing brilliantly at it. Keep in touch.
Definitely will. I'm sure you'll hear my son on the radio probably this week if he's got any.
He's got to get through at least one day this week. I'll be very. We've even got.
They played my new jingle, mummy, and I was like, I heard it.
And I'll be playing plenty of that. We're the fastest fingers in South. No, because he rang up one morning and he just went, "In your face, Peggy," and then Peggy came back with "In your face, Blake." And of course, in radio, we love stuff like that. It's just brilliant radio. So
yeah, a bit of banter.
Thoroughly enjoyable. Brilliant. Victoria, thank you. Victoria da Silva Orente, thank you so much for being on the Midday Show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me.
And keep in touch. If you put more work out there in this field, let us know. We get you back on and you can use it as a forum to shout it from the rooftop. So absolutely do keep in touch.
I will. Thank you so much, Neil. Take care. And thank you everyone for listening.
And happy holidays. I want to see the pictures on Facebook. Take care.
Will do. Bye.
Bye-bye. What an absolutely fantastic guest. surreydanceaddicts.co.uk, but you can reach out if you've got a SEN, special educational needs question as well. I'm going to be back on Wednesday. Now, Wednesday, we've got an interesting guest because a lot of us are talking about the weight loss injections at the moment. And there's no nice way of saying this, but apparently we're talking to James Davis and there's a condition. It's called something like Ozempic penis or something like that. So maybe it affects us in ways that we don't know. And I'm like, that's curious and interesting. So we're going to be finding out all about that, whether the weight loss injections are safe. We'll be talking to an expert about that and maybe have some side effects that we didn't think of. We'll explore that more on Wednesday. So looking forward to that. Russ and the gang, of course, going to be back on Friday. Russ and Phil and Chantal with the recommendations. Chantal Ricard, Screen Queen, to give her a full title of what to watch on TV. There's loads of great things at the moment. Watching a great thing, watching The Hostage, which is really good, and The Killing Kind, watching that on Netflix at the moment. That's really, really good as well. I've only seen one episode of that. I would have seen more of The Hostage, but I fell asleep probably because I was drinking Diet Coke to relax, as Victoria's just articulated beautifully. And what more? Jonathan Baz, theatre critic as well. So we're going to leave it there for this Monday. Dr. Asa, Dave Sleets, Robert Van Buren, all the people on our timeline. Lovely to talk to you all. Thank you for your thoughtful and intelligent comments. Kimmy, lovely to hear from you as well. Glad you're enjoying Blake on Radio, Jackie. We do too. Very, very, very much. And Philip, not very verbose today, but a quick hello to you, sir. Thank you for tuning in as well. Wednesday, and we will talk more. All the very best and take care. Bye for now.